Hey everyone, this is Elias from Rev Match Media, and today we're going to be taking a look at the 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L Summit Reserve. Now, this is giving me mini Grand Wagoneer vibes, but let's see if they shortchanged this guy for the sake of being a smaller, less expensive version of it. Let's go ahead and get started. We get started in the front and we can see it's a really nice design. My favorite are these headlights. So I do like the swooping kind of design to it. The turn signal does illuminate in a nice way. And then we get over to the grille. So this grille design is one of my favorites. I like the 7 kind of design here. And we do have kind of that brushed aluminum look, which is a nice touch to it. We do also have that front facing camera, which is part of the surround camera system to help you park this not that biggest of guys, not the smallest, in the tightest of spaces though. And we do have some black trims, which is always a nice touch for me. I like a little bit of the black designs to it. Personally though, I would go with the Trailhawk, just kind of my needs or my want really. So I can have some nice big recovery hooks in the front there. But overall though, it is a really nice looking front end. I am loving this guy. Well, let's go ahead and see what we have under this hood. We get under the hood and we have the 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 engine. It is cranking out 293 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. It is connected to the 8-speed auto and then to the Jeep 4x4 system. Now, a couple of things with this. Yeah, there's something weird going on with the mapping of this or the throttle response to this engine. So what's happening is I'll be cruising just normal, let's say 35 miles an hour or 40 miles an hour, and I accelerate a little bit to maybe get up to 45, and I get no response. So relatively to how much I feel like it should be, I get no response, and then it drops multiple gears and accelerates, but it accelerates a little too much. So, and there is kind of like a second to maybe like a second and a half delay on that, which was kind of really weird with this engine. And then, you know, I saw myself with that small delay that maybe I didn't then later have to actually accelerate. And if I had a car in front of me, I then had to hit the brakes. So it was a significant delay with that throttle. And it wasn't just kind of like, okay, you know, it's doing like an eco mode where, you know, little throttle inputs it won't recognize. That's not the case with this. It's actually recognizing the amount of throttle I put in, but then responding to it later and maybe a little too aggressive, or maybe I'm having to compensate for the lack of it and then being a little bit more aggressive. But it's just really, really weird how this is behaving with the transmission, which is weird because we tried this out in the Jeep Gladiator and I love this engine. This engine was really peppy, was responsive in that drivetrain. I don't know what's going on with this, but it definitely was a weird combination with this. It kind of reminds me of the Compass and how that was like you had to be super aggressive, but this is kind of behaving in a different manner. Not sure. I'm not loving this, to be honest with you. Now the 4xe, that's probably the route, that's actually the route I would want to go with, and I hope it didn't change from the Wrangler to being put in this. But yeah, I did notice that was a little on the weird side. So yeah, hopefully that gets changed. It seems like it's something with the throttle response and maybe some software update or some tuning or something. Well, let's go ahead and see what we have in those wheels and tires. We get down to the wheel and tire package and we have the nice 21-inch wheel, and that is wrapped in the 275/45 Continental cross contact. This setup has been really good. Beautiful big wheel, obviously makes this big SUV look nice. We do have a fairly good tire, no issues with road noise. Even in this kind of gravel that we have here in an unpaved road, it did fine with, you know, with no issues grabbing the road and making sure, and, you know, with us having it in snow mode as well for slippery surfaces, it was a good setup. The brakes though, the brakes is where this I'm having a little bit of an issue with. And that's because that pedal, you really need to put a lot of force. Just like I've mentioned in the Silverado, and the Sierra Denali that we test drove, you really, again, needed to put a ton of force to really have the brakes grab. So it is a really strong brake pedal that you have to put force on. Now, where this excels, and you can probably see, is the ride height. So this has the air suspension in it. It is really, really good. I love it. For some reason, this seems like more exposed than it was in really any other kind of Stellantis air suspension vehicle that we've had. But yeah, it's nice. It rides so smooth. Even in this kind of terrain, it was just gliding. The cabin was gliding. The suspension was working. So it was still kind of going to the ground, which was a good thing. But just the response was really, really good. And it was a really great setup. I did love that. Well, let's go ahead and see what we have on the side. We take a look at the side and we can see this is a fairly big SUV. So a couple of things. We see that big long hood. We see that headlights just kind of peeking out a little bit. Love that design there. We do have the big 21-inch wheels. Right now we do have it at the highest height, so you guys can see kind of, how high we can get with this. And like I said, you can actually see a little bit of the suspension components, or you might be able to see some of it there. But yeah, nice design there. Honestly, I would have liked a little bit of a breakup here. This would have been nice and black, just to give it a different color to it in the Summit Reserve model. But we do get the black on the mirrors with that 360 or that surround camera view on here. And we have the Grand Cherokee with the nice American flag here. So nice little touch on there. And it definitely is a nice kind of badge on there. We then get to the back, and the back door is really big as well. Again, we see that raised suspension. We have this black roof and the black trim. Definitely a nice touch with this specific color as well. And we do have a little bit of that kind of, it looks chrome, but it's more like silver line that kind of follows to the back. Good design key there. And a little bit peaking of that taillight. Now, key fob is in my pockets, so let's go ahead and see how this behaves. So I'll go ahead and put my hand, and it actually unlocked already. So I can go ahead and open this up, and there you go. I can go ahead and close it. And I do have the little slit here where I can go ahead and lock that vehicle. Now, the only thing I kind of feel a little bit weird about this is the way that it closes. I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it, but it sounds a little like a race car that has had everything gutted on the door. Basically, it sounds a little cheap when you go to close it. Let me see if I can capture the sound. Or it sounds like an 80s Cadillac that just has a massive door, and when you close it, it sounds like things are rattling inside when you do it. Yeah, not sure what that is, but it definitely caught my attention when I closed it. And it's an okay weight of a door. It's not too light, it's not too heavy, but yeah. I don't know what it is, but either way, we go ahead and we have that closed, and then when I put my hand in the back, I can go ahead and actually open the rear. So it's nice that you have that there. That sounds a little bit better, but not by much. And again, I can go ahead and lock it, and there you go. So I do like the fact that we have that keyless entry without us having to, with it truly being keyless entry. Well, let's go ahead and see what we have in the back. We get to the back and we see Grand Cherokee. All the generations, really, this is definitely a great evolution to this specific generation. The taillights are really nice. I like the design of them. I like that we have some elements kind of popping out there, but it is a really nice design. The color, yes, it's a little dirty, but it definitely looks great. This gray color is really, really nice. We have the rear wiper here to make sure we have a clear view. And if you don't, then you can always use the rear view camera. So for your rear view mirror, it does have that built in with its own little cleaner there. One of my favorite things to definitely use. So it's a great thing to have it in this. We have our backup camera, again, part of that whole system. We have our tow hookups under here, under this cover, and the exhaust tips, yeah. So that outer design is fake, but it does have the exhaust tip right inside there, but they aren't connected. Yeah, definitely wish they were connected because it is definitely a nice design. But we have that. Now, let's take a look at our key fob. So we're gonna go ahead and push the button twice and it will open this up. And there is a good amount of room. It's not too bad. So my book bag, I can go the long way from the third row all the way to the back and close without a problem. So it is, you know, it's a okay amount of space when we have the back seat up. But if we don't have the back seat up, we can go ahead and push that down. And this thing is really gonna open up to give you a ton of space. So now you could literally do about 3 of these book bags or 2.5 of these book bags deep. So it is definitely a good amount of size here. The only thing, again, with this being captain's chairs in the middle, you don't have that kind of cover for to avoid things from going over, but that armrest in the middle is definitely gonna do a little bit of that job. Now, if we don't need that, we can always go ahead and push down that little button and the second row actually goes down. So if you're really hauling long things, we can get that down. But yeah, overall, this has been a good amount of space back here. And I keep looking up, but the button's actually right there. So we'll go ahead and press there. So it closes. And we press the button twice and it gets that V6 roaring. Well, let's go ahead and hop in and go for a ride. We get inside of the Jeep Grand Cherokee and it's a love-hate relationship. I'll let you know what I mean. First, let me start off with the doors. The doors look beautiful. That tan leather, you know, the diamond pattern on the door cards, it just looks really, really nice. The wood on this is spectacular. It really looks high-end. This is, again, we're at the summit, but it definitely is nice. A couple of things, we do have our seat memories and we do have massage. Yeah, I'll kind of let the cat out of the bag. We do have the little massage buttons here, and we do have the window down switches for windows that actually go down and up. Yes, so this has auto down and up. Yeah, it warrants a message because, or a mention because I wish the Gladiator, I wish the Wrangler had that, because I think it makes so much sense, especially in those vehicles. If you're off-roading and you know a lot of dust comes up or something, you need to get those up. Yeah, I wish it had that, but we do have it in this, which is a really nice touch to the Grand Cherokee. Now we get to the seats, and this is where that love-hate kind of kicks in, because I love the color. I love the color. I love the design. Extremely comfortable. It does have massage. It does have heating. It does have cooling. It looks great. But then I'm already seeing, you know, I'm already seeing kind of stains on it. Stains in the sense of like clothing stains, like jean stains on it. So, yeah. So just be aware. And it's not for me. It's probably, I would definitely, it's definitely from the previous people that have used this. So just be aware that it looks like it does stain easy, but it looks beautiful. So yeah, if you want to have a little bit of torture to yourself, get these seats because they look great. Just make sure you get a nice leather cleaner and conditioner. Yeah, because you're definitely gonna need it. But yeah, spectacular. I'm super comfortable. No complaints about the seat itself. We get over to the steering wheel, and this is very Wagoneer. Yeah, except that it doesn't have the flat bottom here, but yeah, it is very Wagoneer. I'm actually loving the feel of this wheel. It's nice and big, nice and comfortable. The kind of the touching of it is really nice as well. It's got a little bit of padding on it, but yeah, we have tons of buttons. On the left side we have obviously the options to control what is on the gauge cluster. On the right side we have our cruise control settings, and we have my favorite, so before there were FCA but now there's Stellantis, buttons in the back that let you go ahead and change the volume or the track, which again just frees up the front for this other buttons. And we do have the paddle shifters on here, which is a nice touch. Haven't really used them or needed to use them, but we got them. Then we get over to the gauge cluster, and yeah, this is where it really is nice, because it again reminds me of the Grand Wagoneer, where we do have a full digital display, and it does give us the option of a lot of customizing. So we have a ton of options to show. Right now I have it in the like 5-up kind of design, which is right on your steering wheel. It's a really nice touch that you have it there and you don't have to go into a menu to activate that. So sometimes if you just want to have like certain data up, like one specific set of data, you can, but then you can also just go ahead and press that multi view or that 5-up kind of display on there. And yeah, you're able to really customize a ton of information you have in here, which is great, especially if you decide to take this guy off-roading or if you decide to tow with it. So nice thing to, like I said, give you a ton of information on here. Then we get over to the infotainment system, and we have the Uconnect 5 system, which is a nice big display. Again, it's very similar. We're talking about like a baby Grand Wagoneer to this, but it's very similar to it. Obviously, we have what I like, the 3 kind of view. If you're wanting to use the kind of native side of things, you can do Apple CarPlay. So just by pressing the CarPlay, it will go ahead and give you that data on here, which is a nice touch. But yeah, I mean, the screen is nice. You can see the fingerprints. I can't see it right now, basically, with the sun. So just be aware, you may have to be cleaning it every so often. But it's a pretty nice system. I have had issues with Uconnect 5 connecting in recent Ram and other Stellantis vehicles, minus the Chrysler Pacifica. That excelled and never had an issue, but so far I haven't had an issue with this, so hopefully things are changing on that side of things. But yeah, overall it's a great system. The screen is nice and sharp. It's super bright. We have our little shortcuts here that we can get to our seating, our AC controls. So it is definitely a nice touch. We have our shortcuts there that we can set up, and this does have the fam cam. So yeah, I love it. I love it that we have, you know, some borrowed things over from Chrysler, from that Pacifica, to be able to see your little people, your little people back here, or your furry people that may be back there as well. So it is a nice little touch to have that in this vehicle. Then we come down a little bit lower and we have our AC controls. This is a little more on the kind of packed side of things. So it feels like a lot of buttons in a very small area. So I did need to kind of, you know, resort to basically the comfort to give me more kind of area and work with things. Because again, I felt like this was very, very crammed down here. We probably could have done with like a mode button for the AC, whether you're doing, top, feet, or, defrost, that kind of thing. That probably could have been, consolidated into one button. But other than that, and the reason why I say that is because we have these buttons here, and from my line of sight, some of the stuff is being blocked. Like I didn't know the the circulating air button was down here. You just kind of had to do one of those kind of things. So that was because of the tune knob up here. So like I said, this did feel a little bit cramped, but having it on the screen was not an issue with that specific element. And then when you come down here, we have a little cover that lets you go ahead and basically have your wireless charger. So this does have the wireless charging option. It's been great, no issues with it. It's nice in a way I can tuck away the phone, cover that, and you're good to go, or leave it open. We do have 2 USB connections as well as your 12-volt adapter right in there. But yeah, you can just kind of close that and you're good to go. It is piano black. My wife doesn't like it because it reflects, especially the sun, so just be aware of that. Then we come down a little bit more and we have our drivetrain selection. So on the left hand side we have our drive mode. So we have rock, sand, mud, snow, auto, and sport. It's been in auto this whole time. I've moved it to sport a couple of times, not bad. Then we have our gear selecting knob, so it is a rotary dial to turn. And then we have our air suspension controls on the right side. On the very bottom left, we do have our four-wheel drive low setting, which is a nice touch to this because, again, it's still a Jeep. Even though we're in luxury, it still has that off-roading capability with this specific model. And then we have our cup holders. Our cup holders are nice. I feel like the armrest might be a little extended out to cover this, maybe a bit too much. So yeah, bigger cups, it may also, the little cover, that the little door that is there may actually cover it. So just be aware of that you may not be able to fit like big gulps, so to speak, in this. Now we get to the armrest, and the armrest isn't bad. It's very comfortable, nice positioning. The leather is super soft. That is definitely one of my favorites with this. It's super soft leather. It gives you a good amount of space. Nothing too big. I would say, gosh, not a gallon of milk. Definitely not a gallon of milk. But yeah, you can maybe fit, gosh, I don't know, a small box, maybe about yay big. So it's not super big on size. Then we get to the back seat and we have 3 rows in this. So the middle row is going to give you captain's chairs, and they are really nice. I mean, it's essentially the same seats as the front, but they are really nice. No issues getting my kid in. I do have the booster seat. We don't have the full size kid seat because he's outgrown that. But that wouldn't have, that would have been in there with no problem. Definitely fits, no issues, plenty of space. We get to the 3rd row, and the 3rd row isn't bad. It isn't bad. It still has good amount of space back there. One thing I did like is because of that 3rd row, the rear area is actually still big. So there's still a good amount of size available in the trunk area. So it's, obviously it's not going to be super, large, but it does give you a good amount of space for you to put, like, my book bag fit there with no problem. So it's not like other 3-row SUVs, which basically kills that trunk area. So it is a nice touch to have there. Now, how would I have configured it? Honestly, I'm not a big fan of captain chairs because, again, you get rid of one seat, and yeah, and then you have to get the 3rd row, which is maybe not the biggest. So I'd rather have one big bench with a ton of space than doing that configuration. Now let's talk performance. We're dealing with the 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 engine. It is cranking out 293 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque. It is connected to the 8-speed auto and then to the Jeep drivetrain. Now with this, it's been a little weird. So it's giving me Jeep Compass vibes, which I wasn't a big fan of because of the throttle. So what's weird is that there's a delay in accelerating. And it's not that it's like you accelerate and then, oh, here comes the power, but it's like responsiveness. Like I'll literally accelerate and I get nothing, and now it starts accelerating. And then when you let off the gas, it's still accelerating and then it stops. Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know what's going on. And let's go ahead, and the brakes too. The brake pedal requires a lot of force, like GM style force, that I'm not a really big fan of. So from a stop, I'll go ahead and accelerate, and yeah, and with this being the big V6, it's doesn't sound that good. I did love it in the Gladiator. This was definitely great in the Gladiator, but for some reason, something's a little bit different in this. But yeah, like I'll have my foot off the gas or just kind of on it a little bit to keep speed, and I'll accelerate a little bit. Now I get the response. It's really more on the stop and go or the city driving that really affects, because again, if the car in front of you accelerates and you accelerate a little bit, you're not seeing the vehicle respond, so you're putting a little bit more, and now the Jeep is responding to that little bit more maybe about a second later. And when you realize, in case it may have jumped too much or accelerated too much, now you're having to hit the brakes. So yeah, I don't know if I like that response. I may have to stay in sport mode, but yeah, it's gonna really consume significantly more gas, because it won't really go all the way up to 8th gear like you do in the auto mode. Really weird. Again, now the brakes, the pedal is really stiff, so you're needing to really put a lot of force in order for it to start stopping the vehicle. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed with that, because this was definitely a huge contender to be that SUV that I get. Now, the other thing though is I am looking at 4xe. So the 4xe is the route I want to go with. I did have that in the Wrangler. I loved it. I loved the response, but I also loved this engine in the Gladiator. So I hope that doesn't kind of affect it like it's affecting the V6. But yeah, let's go ahead and see if we can take this on our unpaved road and see how it does. Okay, so we're about to head into our unpaved area. We have rock, but that's going to be more for like literal rock crawling. It's going to be using that 4 low. So this is more of a 4 high with maybe not the best kind of grip. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in snow mode, and we'll probably go up 1 setting, and we will stay on, we'll put it in maybe the 2nd to highest. It may slow us down, it may bring us down with a kind of lower setting because of our speed. And I'm gonna go into the apps here, and I'm gonna go to off-road pages. So this does have, again, it's still, even though we're seeing a lot of luxury stuff, we do have that option. And again, we have the vehicle dynamics, so it is telling you the steering angle. If we're locking the transfer case, right now it is unlocked. We have the gauges, so we can see that data. The pitch and roll is probably where we'll stay to just kind of see what's going on. Select terrain, so we can choose what terrain we want. We can see right now we are in 4 high. Suspension, again, we're in off-road 1, and we can see the animation. Actually, we might keep that. Forward-facing camera is definitely a favorite. I like that we are able to have that on while we are driving with the off-road mode on. So we have that. Yeah, let's go ahead and we will keep it in the suspension. Yeah, you can see the jumping around of the suspension, and let's go ahead and see how this handles. So yeah, immediately I am feeling that acceleration delay that I was describing. Yeah, it's a little bit of a concern with that. Yeah, right now it's definitely kind of, it's leaving me. That's what I feel like. I feel like I have no control over the vehicle. Like it's going forward when I don't really want it to. Give it a boost of acceleration. So here though, we have these are the little bumps, and man, it is handling them with no problem. It feels so comfortable. And now combined with the bigger, like hilly bumps, or the bigger kind of crest, so to speak, comfortable. This is really easy. Okay, so the brakes, yeah, I'm needing to again put a little bit more force than I normally would with other vehicles. Okay, yeah, there it wanted to just kind of get away from me, meaning forward, accelerating. Yeah, I'm not having a lot of confidence with this vehicle. I'm a little concerned with how that pedal is working. I don't know if it's, again, just the V6 in this configuration, but yeah. So stop there, big bump there. Now we get to the gravel stuff, and yeah, so traction control is really holding me back from accelerating, especially in this like loose gravel scenario. So we do have this turn. Let's see if, yeah, it's doing its job. It's really, traction control is keeping me from not moving too fast. You know, again, because it's sensing the lost traction. But again, that kind of accelerating that it's doing on its own is a little bit scary. I am not liking that one bit. Yeah, I would have to test the 4xe to be 100% sure this is the SUV that I want. But other than that, it's been great. I mean, if you're looking, I mean, who's this for? If you're looking for something that is luxury. So again, with this being the Summit, we're seeing tons of luxury touches to it. It is, you know, it is beautiful inside. It is beautiful outside. I love the design. The drivability could improve, again, with that accelerator pedal situation. But overall, this is a great vehicle. And again, if you don't want to shell out almost twice as much for the Grand Wagoneer, but you still want Grand Wagoneers stuff, this is what you get. Well guys, I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and remember, find the right gear. See ya.